Hello students. So, we start with the second model, I mean the model number 2, that is called the production possibility frontier. In the previous lesson, we explained the term, the first model, that is called as the circular flow of the economy. In that particular case, we explain with the help of two sectors economy like your farm and household, and the two market, that is called the product market and factor market, and how the real flow and money flow to be takes place between all this sector. In the previous lesson we have to explaining it. But prior to that, we also will study what are the most 10 important principles of economics, what the Manque, the famous economist, explained, the starting from the first to 10th property, I mean the first to 10th principle. The first to fourth principles related to the decisions in case of your household, that is the individual's point of view, and the last three explain in terms of your macroeconomy, that is the as a economy as a whole, and in between it will explain how the peoples to interact with each other. Right now we have to start with the term what is called as the second model, the productions possibility frontier. But this is the productions possibility frontier, also be known as production possibility curve. Production possibility curve is called the PPC. The same thing, whether the production possibility frontier or the production possibility curve, both are the remaining the same. It is nothing but the graphical representations of the utilizations of your resources, whether you have to utilize the scarce resources fully or underutilize our resources. This resources utilization or underutilization and the full utilization, and how the economic growth to be takes place, all the things we have to explain with the help of the simple concept of your example. Let us say the existence of your constant amount of available of resources, and those constant available of resources is to be known as the how many hours of the labor available in a particular month, right. And here the what are the given concept, remember you have to inside the example we have to take into account certain given concepts. So, we have certain amount of the resources, and that resources is the number of labor hours, and we have to take into account 50,000 labor hours. 50,000 labor hours are available inside the economy, that is the first point. Second, we have to manufacturing only the two type of product, one is called as the computer and second one is called as the wheat. We have to produce the two type of product, one is called the computers and second one is called the wheat. We take one the technical product and the let us say the agricultural product to be that, and only one resources to be available, that is called the labor. So, the labor it will be expressed in terms of how much of labor hour to be utilized in the production process. We have 50,000 labor hours, we have to manufacturing the computer as well as the wheat, one is the capitalist goods and another one is to be your agricultural goods are there, right. And we have to take in account only one type of factors of production to be utilized in the production process, what is called the labor hour. Now, alongside of this, it also be given to you the price of your producing, and the producing for the computer it required how much of labor hour, and producing that the 10 ton of your wheat, how much labor hour to be utilized. For the manufacturing a particular computer, a single computer, a computer it required 100 hours of your labor hours to be required, 100 labor hours required, and a ton of wheat it required how much of labor hour, 10 hours of labor, 10 hours of labor. So, here it required the 10 hours of labor. So, what are the given things? The manufacturer produces two type of products, that is called the economy, it produces two things, computer set and the wheat. we have to producing these two things with the help of a single factors of productions, that is called the labor hours. The labor is only the factors of productions, and how much labor hour do we utilize, how much are available to us in a particular month. Now we have 50,000 of the labor hours. In order to manufacturing a computer set, it requires 100 hours of labor. In order to manufacturing a single ton of weight, that is called a ton of weight, it required 10 hours of labor. Considering this, we have to explain the second model, that is of the economy, that is called the productions possibility frontier. Now, with the available these things, we have to prepare a table in order to describing the things with the help of a curve. First start with the table. In case of a table, here we take into account that the 5 different segmentations of your, that means the 5 categorizations of your productions of your weight and your computer. So, uses of your labor, uses of labor hour, let us say that the 5 combinations are there, right. Either you are using the first combination, second, third, fourth and fifth, or you are manufacturing 2 things, computer and weight. Let us say we spent the entire things first on computer, let us say the 50,000 of labor, here you are using 0. In this case we are using 40,000 labor and 10,000 labor hours to be here. We are using 25 each, 25,000 to be here and 25,000 because we have only 50,000 labor. Similarly, we have to take into account 10, you have to take into 40 hours, 40,000 of labor, and we have to using 0 and 50,000 of labor. That means, how we are to using the labor, we have to explaining it, that is the uses of labor. Then second is the production side, is the uses of labor and productions. Productions, we have to produce 2 things, one the computer and second one the weight. And we know we have to produce a single computer. In order to producing a single computer, it required 100 labor hours. How much labor hour we have? We have 50,000 labor hour in a particular month. If you are using the whole amount of labor hour to manufacturing the computer, then how many computers are going to be manufactured? Only 500 amount of the computer are going to be manufactured, because we have to using the whole, and in order to producing a single computer required the 100 labor. While you dividing the 100 to it, we have to the 500, 500 set of the computer and 0 unit of weight to be going to be manufactured. Now, the second combinations, in second combinations we have to distributing the labor to manufacturing the weight. By sacrificing some amount, withdrawing some labor from the computer and try to manufacturing the weight. Here we have to extract it, reducing the 10,000 of labor which is going to be weight productions. If you are reducing it, the number of computer sector are going to be produced 100, the 410 hours of labor to be manufactured. That means we can produce 1000 unit of ton of your weight, right. We have to, if you move to the second point, the B point, in that particular combinations we have to constant amount of the labor we have, that to be segregated into the computer set and the weight. When to reducing the number of labor to be using the computer to producing the weight, now the combination is like this. But in the third weight, while using the 25,000 each in the computer set and with the the reducing the labor hour from the computer, it will be 40 to 25 and increasing the weight, the labor hour from the 10,000 to the 25,000, then how much amount of the production of the computer and weight to be there? The amount of the production of the computer to be 250 sets and that of weight it will be 2500. Now, the production of weight increases, that of computer to be reduces. In the same manner, if you move to the combination 3, here we are going to be produce only 100 unit of your, let us say, computer and 4000 unit of weight, 4000 unit of weight to be there. And move to the last bit, if you using the entire amount of available labor in a particular month to manufacturing only the wheat, then 0 unit of computer and how much unit of the how many tons, 50,000, the time that is the 5, sorry, not 50,000, that is the 5,000. So, 5,000 of the ton of your wheat is going to be manufactured. So, this is the way to explaining the whole concept, how you have to using available resources into manufacturing the two things. Then what is that production possibility curve? Actually, production possibility curve, it is a graphical representations how you have to using our available resources to manufacturing both the product. Right now, you have to explaining it with the help of your constant opportunity cost principle, because we can show the principles of your production possibility frontier in the two way. One, it is the in case of your constant opportunity cost where the straight line principles, and second one the increasing opportunity cost, right. We start with the term constant opportunity cost. Right. In this case, we take the x axis and y axis. Here in case of your x axis, we take into account how many unit of your computers set are going to be manufactured and how much of wheat, how many unit of tons of wheat are going to be manufactured. Here the first combination A is a 500 and 0. Let us say this is the point A, which is the 500 and 0, and we take into account this is the point what is called as, let us say we can putting the values also, we no problem about it, just putting the value, thereby we can put the term which in the A, B, C and D. Let us say the weight is there 0, it is the take into account 1000, then take this particular point as the 2000, take this particular point as 3000, because the each and every 10 square unit of the 1000 unit of the wheat productions, 4000, and it is the 5000 units of wheat productions. Similarly, here in this case we have to take into account 100, 200, 300, 400 and 500, right. Let us start with the first point 500 0, this is the point A, right, and the last point 0 5000, this is the point of E. When you joining this point A and E, we find the straight line production possibility frontier or the production possibility curve, and all of the points, let us say 400 and it is the 1000, this is the 400 and 1000, okay. This is the point of your it is called the B point. Similarly, we can take into account 250, 250 is to be here and 2500 to be here, 250 and 2500, this is the point is to be C, and 100 4000, this is the 4000 and this to be turns to be the 100, this is the point of your let us say D. All these points whether A, B, C and D, in that case in those cases what you find, the available resources, that is called the 5000 units of labor, for the 50,000 unit of labor, the labor hour what is to be available to us is to be going to be utilized fully. Is the A point 50,000, 50,000, B point 50,000, C 50,000, D 50 and E also be 50. Everywhere we have to spend 50,000 of unit of labor which is going to be available to us. Now, that means what it suggests, on the line it is the fully utilizes, the full utilization of resources, am पाखे जहाँ available resources अच्छी, सेटा यारी ऊपरे पूरा fully utilization है वो अच्छी. But if you take into account any such point inside in it, let us say I have to take into account the point, let us say this is the point E F, this is the point F. So, this particular F point, what it tells us, this is nothing but the 100 and 250, 100 and 2500. So, the 100 unit of to be you are going to be manufactured computer and 25,000, I mean 2500, you are going to be 2500 of tons of your wheat you are going to be manufactured. By doing that, you have to be utilizing, underutilize the resources. How it turns to be underutilize of resources? Let us start with the studying it. How many computers? Now this is called the 100 computer. If you manufacturing 100 computers, how much of labor hour to be utilized? Now 10,000 unit of labor to be utilized. They will be 10,000, right? 10,000 of your labor hour are going to be utilized. And you to manufacturing 2,500 of your wheat, how many labor you have to utilize? Now again it is a 25,000, it is a 25,000 of labor hour are going to be utilized. When you are adding these two things, how much you to find? 10,000, 25,000, that the 35,000 of labor hour are going to be utilized. That means you are not going to be utilize 50,000 unit of labor, you are using less than 50,000 unit of labor. That is called the underutilized of resources. You are not, your resources are not fully utilized. That means inside that particular line, if you manufacturing anything that reflect you have to underutilize your resources. Your resources are not fully utilized. Similarly, let us say that take the point, this is the point, let us say we are assuming this particular point, this is the AFZ, the point is Z is here. In this Z combinations, I have to be erasing this part, in this Z combination, what do you find? In Z, here it will be 400 of your computer, you have to manufacture 400 of computer and 2,500 of your what? That is called as the wheat you are going to be manufactured, 2,500 of tons of wheat you are going to be manufactured, 2,500 units. Now, if you say this one, then what happened? Whether it will be fully utilize your resources or you underutilize your resources, let us check it. 400 computer means how much of labor hour required? Now 40,000 of labor hour is required, and for the 2,500 of your wheat, how much labor hour required? 25,000 of labor hour to be required. When you add it, how much it will be that? 65,000 of labor it will be required. It required 65,000 of labor, which is to be much more than what is available, 50,000 of unit of labor. That means if you manufacturing outside the production possibility frontier, that reflect overutilization of resources. You can't manufacture in that point because your resources is not utilized there, you do not have that sort of resources. तो आम पाखे से रिसोर्सेस नहीं, भितर जो प्रोडक्शन करुचे आम रिसोर्सेस को अंडर यूटिलाइज करुचे, आम जो बाहर प्रोडक्शन पॉसिबिलिटी फ्रंटियर बाहर प्रोडक्शन करुचे तमें यहाँ करिपारिबो नहीं कहीं ना रिक्वायर्ड हो अधिक अमाउंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेस व्हिच इज बियॉन्ड आवर कैपेसिटी. That means always we are able to find on the production possibility frontier. That means what you are going to be manufactured always on that particular line. This is the concept for the full utilization of resources. On this line we are able to fully utilize our resources. That means our resources are going to be fully utilized. If you manufacture inside it, that is called underutilization of resources. Outside of it, it is called the overutilization of resources. So, the underutilized and overutilized. This is the constant opportunity cost. Now, how you have to explaining the things with the help of your increasing opportunity. In case of your increasing opportunity cost, the curve to be like this. Let us say take the same example, it is the wheat and this is called the computer, and this is the curve for that. Let us say the point E, this is the point A, this is the point B, this is the point C, this is the point D and so on, right, like this. If you manufacture on this line, that is called the full utilization of resources, right. If you manufacture inside it, the underutilization of resources. If you manufacturing outside, it is beyond your capacity, you can't producing on that particular part. But you are able to shift the production possibility curve upward, you can able to shift the production possibility curve upward if you are using your resources in the more intensively. That means the economic growth, that is called the growth. So, economic can be growth if the production possibility shift upward, right. Again that part we have to study in case of microeconomics, the problem of economics. But here we just show you what is the model tells us the production possibility frontier. Similarly, we can explain another bit also be along with this. I have to write down here. If the production possibility curve like this way, that means its intention is to be producing more of weight, less of computer, and if you take into account like this, the reverse of the part, that is the more computer unit interested to manufacturing and less amount of weight you are going to be manufactured. So, this is the concept of your productions possibility frontier or the production possibility curve. And if you try to manufacture, let us say another thing you have to study to be here. If you try to producing more and more amount of computer, you have to sacrificing some amount of that is called as the weight. That means that is called the, when we take into account the slope, that is your slope of production possibility frontier or the slope of production possibility curve, that is nothing but how much change to be takes place in the y due to the how much change takes place in case of your x. X means the computer and y means the weight. आमे केते x को बढ़ाइबा जहाँ फल आमे केते y को sacrifice करिबा, right? So that is nothing but the slope of the productions possibility curve, and in the other way it is called as the marginal rate of substitutions. It is known as marginal rate of technical substitutions, right? That particular slope represent as the marginal rate of technical substitution. You have to technically have to substitute which type of production you are going to be manufactured, whether to try to manufacturing more computer or less computer. If you try to manufacture more computer, you have to sacrifice the weight, you have to try to reverse the concept, that means you have to sacrificing the computer manufacturing the more and more amount of weight. So that is nothing but the slope of the productions possibility frontier, right. Then after knowing the term what is called the slope of the productions possibility frontier and slope of the production possibility curve, and both the term what is called as the constant opportunity cost principle and this called the increasing opportunity cost principles, right. Now considering these things, we have to start with the other bit also. What are the terms, what is called the positive economics, what do you mean by negative economics? Positive economics, negative economics. Now positive means here to be always, I mean considering the whole thing in the scientific nature, scientific directions, but in case of your I mean normative, in that particular case I mean you take into the emotional concept, not considering the term reality. By emotional you have to doing the decisions, you have to taking the decision in case of emotional basis is called the normative economics. If you take into account the I mean scientific proof basis is called the positive economics, that is when price fall, demand increase, you can test it. No, if the demand must be increased when price fall, that to be in the I mean normative one. So that the concept what is to be and what ought to be. We have to explaining the whole concept of it in the coming class, that is called the in that particular class we take into account why the economist, the most important concept that is called the why the economist disagree with the some points. Those things we are going to be narrate, along with we have to explain the term what is microeconomics, what is macroeconomics, what is deductive method of the study the terms, what is called the inductive method of the study the terms, what is the principle of your capitalist economy, what is the I mean socialistic economy, and what is the concept of the mixed economy. After that what the importance of the graph also be, right. We have to explaining the whole bit in the coming class. So that is all for today. So what we have to narrating the things, you have to remember, you have to know the concept up to what extent you have to complete the first module. The first, the principles of economics, the 10 most important principles of economics. Second, we have to think like an economist. Inside the think like an economist, we have to explain the two terms of it. One is called as the production possibility frontier, that is the second model. The first model prior to that is called the two sector economy model, where we are taken in the farm and household, how the real flow and money flow to be takes place. So that is all for today. In the coming class, we have to explain the term why the economists disagree with some points. Thank you for